Hey, make sure you check out guitarmerch.com. We've got loads of cool guitar, music, and everyone loves guitar t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs, and everything comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to you. Head on over to guitarmerch.com. Hey guys, you're about to listen to my interview with Robin Trower. I literally just got off the phone with him. So it's a short interview, so I thought you might want to hear a little bit of a backstory to this because, you know, you might find it kind of cool. So here's what happened. Like when I got an email from his people and they said, you know, Robin's got a new record out. It's called No More Worlds to Conquer. By the way, it's a great record. And do you want to have on your show? And I'm like, do I want to have my show? And like, I had to play it really cool because I was so freaked out that I'm going to actually sit and talk to Robin Trower. This is a guy I've spent quite a bit of time with him over my lifetime, listening to all his whole catalog. Obviously the early stuff, Bridge of Sighs, the first few records more so, but I've gone through his catalog several times. And I'm a huge Trower fan. I find his music really soulful. James Dewar was one of the finest vocalists around, you know, kind of a Paul Rogers sort of guy. He was from Scotland. Just a perfect voice. And, you know, I think we talked about in the interview, his voice and Trower's guitar was just a match made in heaven. Anyway, so, you know, I responded to the email, you know, yes, I'd be interested in, you know, like really it was like, fuck yeah, I'd be interested in having him on the show. And I might have even, like, I was enthusiastic about it, you know, because I try to be honest with my emotions, but I wasn't like, oh my God, freaking out, because that's how I felt. And so I didn't hear for a while. And then I was talking to them about another artist they have. And I said, hey, whatever happened with Robin Trower? Is that still on track? And because, oh yeah, I was just going to contact you about that this afternoon. This is all email. And meanwhile, I'm like telling all my friends, my son, who's my oldest son, he's like my music kid. And I'm telling my wife, she knows nothing about the music I listen to, but she's like, oh, you know, she saw I was happy. So she was, you know, happy for me. And so we come back a week or two later, and they say, hey, Robin's available by phone for 30 minutes. And I'm like, you know, I said, you know, I could talk about 30 minutes about Bridge of Sighs, and I don't want to seem ungrateful at all. I said, but, you know, is there anything we can do to get more time? And also, can we do this on Zoom? Because I wanted to look at the guy. You know, it's, you know, make a better connection, obviously, if you're in face-to-face. And so they came back and they said, absolutely no on Zoom, but he'll give you 45 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that's great, because I could do a lot in 45 minutes. So I put all my questions together, and we get, and look, I would talk to the guy on, you know, 2 Dixie cups with a string connecting them. I'd be so happy. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, I wasn't happy talking on the phone, but I wanted to get a connection. And by the way, he was calling from the UK. The connection wasn't the best, so just hang in there. But you could hear everything. It's just not as clean and clear as you're used to. So I'm talking to him, and I was so nervous that I had like 45 to 60 minutes worth of questions, but it took 32 minutes or 30 minutes because I was so nervous. I was like talking fast, which I'm usually, you know, I've had 900 interviews. And first of all, the thing, when I started this show, you know, in mid 2017, I never once thought like I'd be talking to Robin Trower. So a lot of the people I've had the opportunity to talk to, actually, but he was just a big hero of mine. So anyway, we talked, lovely guy, very cool. He was a little not taken aback, but, you know, not the normal questions he gets, but he answered them. He handled them like a trooper. And I was mindful of expecting that. And it was just a great call. And, you know, I'm so excited now, just getting off the phone. I'm like really juiced up. So anyway, that's the story. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I really enjoyed talking with the guy. I got to listen to his whole whenever I have, I try to listen to everybody's catalog. I listen to everything because I love the guy's work. So over the last few weeks, I've been listening to everything. And we talked about his own favorite tracks that he wrote. We talked a little bit about his work ethic and his drive and how he's been so creative over the last 15 years, and he can't stop writing. And he sounds like he's in a good place. I think he's probably, I think he was born in 45, so this is maybe he's probably 77 or something around there. And you know, he's happy. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be touring because of COVID, understandably. And that's it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little backstory. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Robin Trower. And as always, thank you very much for choosing to listen to Everyone Loves Guitar. There's a lot of things you could be doing with your time, lots of people to listen to. So I don't take that lightly. And I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Enjoy the show. And happiness is a choice, man. So choose wisely. Take care. I'm out. Okay, it's a true honor and a privilege to have my guest on today, one of the very first and most important guitar heroes I had, Robin Trower. Robin's just come out with his 27th studio album called No More Worlds to Conquer, which is a very appropriate title, and we'll talk about the new record along with some of his amazing history. I just want to say a quick thank you to John Bleischer for connecting us. And before we get started again, Robin, I just want to thank you so much for everything you've given me and millions of other people over the last 50 years of just incredibly soulful music and music making. So thanks, man.
Thank you very much. That's quite an introduction.
Well deserved. Trust me. All righty. A lot of people think Hendrix was your biggest influence, but from what I understand, James Brown was one of your biggest influences. And I was curious how you first heard James and what was he doing musically that was so important or so influential for you?
Well, I think the first thing I heard by James Brown was Think, very early single he had. But the most important, most influential thing musically was Live at the Apollo.
Yeah.
Just the soulfulness, the excitement of it, and the freedom that he has in his vocals was completely new. And I think, you know, those are some of my earliest influences, definitely. But at the same time, I was really into B.B. King as well, especially B.B. King live at the Regal, which, you know, another huge influence.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the best guitar playing you'll ever hear. Wonderful music as well. And Jimi Hendrix came along a little later, you know, and about that time I really got into Albert King as well, so he was another huge influence. Hendrix was a huge influence, obviously, as well.
Once you left Procul Harum, and, you know, things like this aren't said enough, but when you're in a good gig like that and you leave to do a solo career, man, I give you a lot of credit because that takes some balls, really, you know? And it does. It really does. And I was...
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I don't think I thought about it, you know, because I'm probably, you know, young and silly. I'd started writing a lot of music, guitar music, and I wanted to have, you know, my own unit to be able to do that with, you know. So there was, yeah, I think it just was a completely natural development, really.
Yeah, well, kudos to you for doing that. That is not an easy thing. But I was curious, what were some of your challenges early on as far as getting your solo career moving?
Well, obviously I was quite lucky to have been in Procul Harum. I don't think, if I hadn't have been in Procul Harum, I don't think the doors would have opened for me. You know, they were on Chrysalis, and Chrysalis took my first album. You know, so I think that, you know, like I say, being in Procul Harum was a big step up for me.
Right. And I'm going to apologize in advance for this question because I want to ask you a couple of questions about Bridge of Sighs. And I know you've probably been asked like 1,000 questions about that. So I'm really sorry.
I don't mind. I don't mind talking about it. It's a very important track.
Oh, it's the whole album's phenomenal in the track. But first question is, how'd you wind up working with Geoff Emerick? Because, you know, his engineering and sound work on those early records, it's just phenomenal, and it easily stands up to anything. You know, the rawness and the perfection, the beauty of the whole sound was amazing. How did you wind up working with him?
I'm pretty sure that Chrysalis put me together with him. I had a producer that I'd worked with on the first album, Matthew Fisher, who I was in Procul Harum with. And I'm pretty sure Chrysalis put Geoff Emerick together with me because we were recording at Air London, which... with George Martin's studio, and I think there was some sort of link up there. You know, it was a great blessing to have him because I think he, you know, as you say, the sound he got was phenomenal.
It's just, I mean, I went through your whole catalog over the last week and a half, and I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm in, and this thing is 50 odd years old. And I'm thinking, man, why doesn't music now sound like this with all this this advanced technology? And, you know, I'm yearning for that sound.
Yeah, it's all analog, you see. The desk is analog. The outboard gear is analog. You're on tape.
Well, just the mix and everything.
Listen to the Beatles stuff. It still sounds better than anything today.
Very true.
That was Geoff Emerick as well.
Yes, for sure. When you finished Bridge of Sighs, when you finished the record, did you have any kind of like sense that, hey man, I think this might be something special?
I think maybe we thought we had something quite potent. But as for thinking it might be a huge success, I don't think we did. But, you know, it's kind of, in those days, you went in the studio, you put an album down pretty quick,
right?
Got it finished very quick, and then you were on the road again. So you didn't have a lot of time to think what might be. You were just dealing with, you know, the day-to-day stuff.
When you first started touring, did you get an amazing response? Like, did the crowd response say, "Oh my God, this is way beyond what I thought," you know, or "I can't believe this," or whatever?
I think there was one very surprising thing for us was before we recorded the track Bridge of Sighs, we were playing it live, and I think the first time we played it was in San Francisco, and got a standing ovation at the end of it, which in the middle of a set is kind of mind-blowing, you know?
Yeah.
So then you thought, well, there's something special about this track, you know, this song, definitely.
That's great.
And I think that was some of the secret of that album is that a few of the songs we were already playing live before we went into record.
So you had a groove that you sort of knew already.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just went down. I'm thinking about Day of the Eagle, Two Rolling Stone. Those things, I'm pretty sure we were playing live, or were rehearsing them up well before we went in. You know.
Sure. That track is just, that whole album is just so, like, when I'm in the car, my oldest son is my music son, and when I'm in the car, I don't drive with him much now because he's almost 32, but whenever we're in the car and that something from that record comes on, we both just like turn around and look at, that's just magic, that whole album. So how did that album change your life and your career?
Well, obviously, it eventually put me and Jimmy and Reggie on top of the bill, you know, because we were out supporting people up to well, even when the album was in the charts, we were still supporting. I think we were out with 10 years after, and when that got in the charts. But yeah, obviously it was a big thing. It meant that we could be top of the bill.
That's great. So you were supporting act, and it made you a headliner right after that.
Yeah, I think the next tour we did, we were doing headlining. Yeah.
Awesome. You know, I know that you did a lot of John Peel shows. In fact, you probably have more legitimate not bootleg, I mean, John Peel concerts than like anybody I've ever seen. What was that experience like?
Well, it was wonderful. I mean, he was, you know, he was a great supporter of what we were doing. Yeah, he was a great guy, really great guy. So that was good exposure as well, you know, having him sort of supporting you, you know?
Sure, absolutely. And I had a question. As a kid, your band, the Paramounts, was really successful. I know that you opened for the Beatles and on many occasions for the Stones, and then, of course, Procul Harum, and then your solo career. If you can, what would be the top 3 musical experiences that you had, if you had to pick some knee-jerk reaction, and what made them so much fun or so memorable?
Well, it wasn't supporting the Stones or the Beatles, I can tell you that.
Touche.
We were opening up for a lot of acts, you know, so it wasn't great fun. You only got 20 minutes or something, 15 minutes, you know, just a warm-up act, really. So, but memorable experiences, well, I've told you one, haven't I? With Bridges Drive.
Yeah.
I think another great night that will always stick in my mind is the night we were recorded in Sweden for a radio show. Mm-hmm. We didn't know we were going out live on the radio in Sweden. But it was the first night of the tour, and the energy was incredible. And then several weeks later, someone from the radio station sent us a recording of that night. And that's what turned into the live album.
Oh, and you didn't even know?
Yeah. Didn't even know. Well, that's the magic of it, isn't it? You don't know you're being recorded. It was actually going out live on the radio, but they recorded it as well. Wow,
that's so cool.
So, you know, yeah, that was definitely a magical night, you know, captured by happenstance, as it were.
And is any other one come to mind?
I'll think about it while you're asking.
All right, fair enough, man. What are some decisions you made along your career, or maybe even some like personal characteristics of yours that, as you look back over your career, you could say to yourself that, you know, that was a direct impact on my success or on my journey?
That's another tough one.
I know. Sorry.
I think probably the most important decision I ever made was asking James Stewart to form a band with me.
Yeah.
You know, such a wonderful, wonderful singer. He was such a great guy.
Incredible. You know, his voice and your guitar was like a match made in heaven.
It's very kind of you to say so. But yeah, I mean, his singing was a big part of our success, no doubt about it.
Very much. Very much. You're obviously very well known for your specific tone and your Strat sound. And I know earlier on in your career, you played Gibsons, specifically like a Les Paul Special, an SG. I read something, I don't know if this is true or not, that you obviously played Strats, but something to the effect of you picked up Martin Barre's guitar at a concert one day and something just clicked and that was it. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I should have asked him before I picked it up. I plugged it into my amp and it just immediately had a voice that made my heart sing. So, that was Strats from there on.
Yeah.
I think I went out as soon as possible and bought one,
I had Martin on the show here about 2 or 3 years ago, and he, like yourself, his enthusiasm for his music so many years into this is like he's 17 years old, and it's so great to hear you guys playing such great stuff now. What was it about the Strat in particular that hooked you?
It's like got a vocal quality to it. It's got almost a human voice quality to it.
Mm.
It's very hard to put into words, but it's a very musical sounding guitar, actually, but quite hard to get a good tone out of it. So what I do is I tune down a whole step so I can use heavier strings, especially on the top two, and a bit of a higher action to get a decent bit of sound. I mean, I always advise players with Strats is to get a good acoustic sound out of them first before you plug them in.
Hmm. How do your hands must be like incredibly strong because you're using 12s, I read, or I saw an interview, and you're with a high action, and you're yet to get the soulful vibrato you get. That didn't happen overnight.
No, I had a vibrato from very, very early on, right when I was in the Paramount. So that came natural.
Okay.
And obviously, you continue to work on it and build the sort of vocabulary that you can use it on. But as you say, bending and vibrato is a big part of it, and that's why tuning down it makes it possible for me to do the bends and the vibratos with heavier strings.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. As far as I know you've been using full tone pedals since the 90s.
Yeah.
But I was curious, what did you use to get your distortion prior to working with Mike? And also, what did you use before the Deja Vibe?
Originally, I used the Univibe.
Okay.
That was the original of that sound.
Okay.
But they were very noisy and quite unreliable. So it was great when Mike came up with that Deja Vibe. That's a great sounding thing.
Hey man, you should get a commission off every one of those sales, because I could tell you I know about 20 guys, including myself, that bought that pedal because of you only, just to play.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
There you go.
What did you use for distortion prior to?
Well, I didn't have a distortion pedal, but what I had a volume boost pedal made. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to have an electronics guy that I knew. He made a thing that just boosted the signal from the guitar into the amp, so you could drive the amp a bit more. That was about the time of the first couple of albums, 3 albums, something like that.
So all your distortion on there is just from turning up the volume, basically.
Well, I mean, I think I'm driving the front end of the amp quite hard.
Yeah.
As well, with that volume boost, as it were.
That's amazing, man. Because it's so specific to you. Which the old adage is everything is in your fingers. But man, it's just amazing.
Thank you very much.
No, man, thank you. 27 albums. Do you have a favorite song that you wrote, or a favorite song to play?
A favorite song?
Yeah.
I tell you what, is a favourite track of mine is Somebody Calling, and I do love to play that track.
Somebody Calling.
It's wonderful to, yeah. That's from the album Inner City Dreams, which is one of my favourite albums that I've done.
What do you like about that? What is it? Where does that strike home with you?
I think it's quite deep. You know, it's great rhythmically, but it's quite deep.
Okay.
It's got a good atmosphere about it. And obviously Bridge of Sighs, you know, I love to play Bridge of Sighs. You know, that gets me every time I play it. You get lost in it.
Everybody else does too. So you're feeling the way everybody else is when they hear that track, man. You know, I saw you twice. I live in Tampa, and the last 2 times you played at Janus Landing out in St. Petersburg.
Oh, that's one of my favorite gigs. That's one of my favorite gigs, is Janus Landing.
It was so cool, man. It was so awesome. But I think the last time I saw you, which I don't know, maybe before the pandemic, 2017 or 18, you sang, and I was like, oh my God, he's singing. That's so cool. And I was curious, had you sang before that?
Yeah, I've been singing on albums for quite a while, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the album before this one, Coming Closer to the Day, I do the vocals on.
Okay.
So, and that's a fact, that track is one of my favourite tracks as well, Coming Closer to the Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some of my favourite lead work on it as well.
That's great. Yeah, it was so cool to see you singing, man. It was like, just like, I didn't expect it. It was really nice. I want to, let's talk about the new record. I just want to ask you about one song that you did. It's like a deep cut. It's called, it's on the Back It Up album from like 83. It's a song called Benny Dancer. And it's like 9, I love that, 9 minutes of like psychedelic blues jam shredding. And it's just, you talk about getting lost in something, right? It is one of my favorite tracks of yours. Can you tell me like the backstory of that maybe?
Well, I think it was just a riff I came up with, and it grew from there. You know, just that basic, that opening riff that goes behind the vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy put the vocal to it. Yeah, I mean, I think it came out of a jam, to be honest.
And the vocals are great. It's kind of like scat singing at time. It's just such a great trippy song, man.
Great. I'm glad you like that. Yeah, that was quite a successful track. That it came off as well as we'd hoped.
Yeah, it's great. The new album, No More Worlds to Conquer. 11 tracks. You played guitar and bass. I love that title, No More Words to Conquer. You know, it's a great statement, and it's a very powerful and liberating statement. Is that reflective about how you're feeling about life nowadays?
I think that's why I chose that title for the album title, is because I felt, well, it covers where I'm at to a certain extent, whereas I've got nothing to prove. But of course, you know, you're still striving forward, as it were.
Sure.
But really, it's the song itself is written about Alexander the Great.
Ah.
And that's what that whole story of that song is about.
Yeah, that's good that you feel that way, because, you know, as you get older, you should feel less burdened, less, you know, you always, like you said, striving to move forward, but it doesn't matter if anybody, like, you don't need that approval or anything, sort of. Well,
I still like to hear that people, you know, really like what I'm doing. And that's great. But it's just, I've done so much now, you know, that I don't feel like it. I need to prove to anybody that I'm a good musician, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
You certainly don't, man. You certainly don't. The other track I really loved on that, besides the title track, was "Wither on the Vine." Can you tell me anything about the backstory to that song?
Well, I think it came together from the chord sequence that I came up with. That was the thing. I think I came up with a complete chord sequence first, with the riffs and everything. Mm-hmm. And then, because usually I'm halfway into a song and I start working on the vocal line before I've even finished the chord sequence. But this one, I think I had the whole chord sequence and then started working on the vocal line and then the lyric. So I spent quite a lot of time, if I remember rightly, actually to complete that song. I spent a lot of time on it.
It's a great track. Glad you put the time in, man. It's a really good song.
Thank you very much.
Again, 27 albums. That's more than 10 people, or 10 people. 10 careers for some people. Did you learn anything new in your experience in making this record?
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. I think every time I pick the guitar up, I think I learn something. I don't think there was any sort of moments, if you know what I mean, where I went, oh, there wasn't anything like that. But because I think the thing is, before I go into the studio, I've got a very good idea in my head of how it's supposed to go. I usually have maybe the bass part worked out, or a good idea of what the drums should be doing, so there are no surprises really. But, so you go in and have fun, basically.
So you're a good governor of yourself, like you're not going to overdo it. And, a lot of people, they go in the studio and it's hard. They always edit themselves. Oh, well, if I change this, it'll be better. But it sounds like you have a kind of like a roadmap what's going to happen beforehand, and you're able to execute it while having fun.
Yeah, and that is mostly how it goes. But with this album, I had finished it like 6 months before the pandemic.
Okay.
I had an album finished. And then the pandemic hit, and the album got put on the shelf. Oh. So a year later, I had to listen to it, and by that time I'd written a load of new material. So I wanted to drop some of the songs off of it, and I put 4 new songs into it. And also I redid some of the lead guitar and some of the vocals. So, having that time away from it and then listening to it, I saw how it could be improved. But mostly because I had some new songs that I was really, really keen on.
Your singer on here, Richard Watts, he's got a really good voice. You guys work really well together.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Wonderful singer.
I have 2 more questions for you. Are you going to be touring the record? Are you going to be over here again at Janice Landing?
I wish so, but no, not while COVID's about.
Yeah, I get that.
It's too easy to catch it, and you can still get sick from it. So, no, I've got to wait and see. I'd love to be touring, but it's a matter of wait and see at the moment.
Yeah, I totally get that. I have 2 more questions for you, not related to music. And I just want to say thank you again. The first question is, what is the most important lesson that life has taught you?
Well, I think probably the harder you work, the more successful you'll be.
Yes, sir. And you've always had a great. Where'd your work ethic come from? Because you've always driven music.
Well, yeah, driven. That's the word. I think I am driven.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I keep coming up with songs. And if you come up with songs, you've got to record them and go out on the road and play them, and so that is the fountainhead of the whole thing. Is coming up with material, ideas. That's what keeps it alive, and is the engine that drives the whole thing.
Yeah, and you've come up with some great ones, man. You don't stop, which is wonderful, because not everybody could say that. And my final question: what has been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and has that change been intentional or just a natural part of aging?
I don't think I've changed in the last 10 years. I really think all I've done in the last 10 years is concentrate on creating. In the last 15 years, really, I've been so fortunate to be able to keep creating, and I think that has dominated who I am, really, for the last 15 years at least.
That's wonderful, and I hope you do this for another 15 years or however long you can. I want to thank you again. Where do you want people to go if they want to buy the record? Is there a best place to do that?
Well, I don't know about that side of it, but Mascot, I would have thought Mascot would be the website to find out about it.
Great.
Mascot
Records.
That's the label,
Yep.
Mascot.
Everybody check out Mascot Records. Again, the new record is called No More Worlds to Conquer. It's a great album. I'm not just saying it. I've listened to it several times. If you love Robin Trower, you're going to love this record. He's doing everything he's been doing for all these years, and he's doing it at a high level as ever. So thank you very much, Robin. And God bless you, man, and keep on doing what you're doing. Stay healthy, and thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you very much indeed.
You got it.
See you again sometime.
Likewise. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Bye.
Hey, I want to thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thank you very, very much to Robin Trower for spending time with us. Please check out his new album, No More Worlds to Conquer, and listen to his whole catalog while you're there, because he deserves it and you deserve it. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play a guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out.